Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, moms and dads joining us around the world. It's time for the Matthew Ball we've been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight is to land on the line.
College basketball fans, the College Ball Show returns. He's Marshall, I'm Chris, and we're here to discuss everything that is college basketball. Now, I say discuss, but it's more like argument, debate. Just try to take as many shots at each other as possible. But if this is your first time listening to the College Ball Show, welcome. It is March Madness. Tourney time is officially here. We had Selection Sunday yesterday. We're going to break it all down. We're going to break the bracket all the way down. Well, I shouldn't say all the way down. The first two rounds, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, who's going to come out for the Sweet 16? Who's going to come out of the weekend and be in the Sweet 16? I don't know if I said that right, but that's okay. But like I said, if this is your first time listening to the College Ball Show, we call it the College Ball Show because late August, we start with college football. We take that all the way to the national title game. Fairly early, probably 10 days, 12 days into January, we switch to college basketball, which is obviously where we're at right now, right? So we call it the College Bowl for that reason. We go all the way to the national championship game. Have a recap show for that. And just so you know, we figure if you're already into college basketball, you're listening to the College Ball Show, right? You're already into college basketball. The national championship is over. There's a good percentage chance that you will at least show some sort of interest in the NBA playoffs, right? So come April, like 10 days later, maybe not even that, we will be back with the NBA playoff banter podcast, okay? So we're going to take that all the way from May, June through the finals, and then we have two shows, one covering the draft and one covering free agency. But the way it goes this year, we'll probably have about 17 free agency summer shows because there's about 17 free agents. But anyway, I'm going to try to get back to course here, okay? We are going to discuss, like I said, the first two rounds, preview, predict, Cinderella story, where's it at? Where are the upsets this weekend, this upcoming weekend? So we're going to, of course, some of the second round games, you look at some marquee matchups where you're like, wow, that would be a really good matchup there. Some games that are kind of flying under the radar in the first two rounds as well. Before we get there, though, we're going to have a brief recap of the conference tournaments and what maybe that means. We'll have a mini celebration that Kansas not only didn't win the Big 12, but they didn't win the Big 12 tourney. Iowa State did. And what I mean by what does it mean? What does it mean, going into the week, a hot team that's rolling? Auburn had a really important weekend. They were the team that had a couple injuries, were really highly ranked, are on the up and up, unlike LSU potentially, allegedly. They closed really well. They had some almost and what-ifs during the season, but they closed really, really strong, did Auburn. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start with a a summarized recap, and then we're going to jump right into the brackets. We're going to take it region by region and kind of go through who we think is going to be the last 16 standing from the weekend. I'm going to go ahead and bring in by the way, the College Ball Show is also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. Of course, you can listen to it right here. The College Ball Show streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. So it streams live. It archives right here on Rope-A-Dope Radio. You can subscribe to Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast anywhere. iTunes, Player FM, we get a lot of listens. Same with TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, all over the place. But like I said, we're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be subscribed all over the place as well, including being able to listen to the College Ball Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, streaming it on Spotify and on iHeartRadio. Something to think about. Head on over to thegruelingtruth.net. That's thegruelingtruth.net. You can listen to the podcast right there at thegruelingtruth.net. You can also, read articles, whether it's past articles, as far as classic players and boxers, because it is basketball, football, boxing. It's all across the board. Baseball as well. But head on over to thegruelingtruth.net. Like I said, you can do a variety of things there, including place a bet, okay? And that'll be mybookie.ag, just so you know. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host right about now. What's going on, Marshall? How are you doing on this lovely, lovely evening where we're coming off Selection Sunday and March Madness is officially here, brother?
Yeah, and like usual, some things never change. There's one day where we will both die, and then there's Selection Sundays. Duke has an easy bracket, and Carolina has a tough bracket. So, someday it's death taxes and Duke having a cakewalk. Hell, they could walk to the damn Final Four without even Zion playing a damn game. But besides that, it's first day back from school from spring break, and I watched a lot of college basketball this weekend. I was super happy Iowa State won their Big 12 tournament. So I'm happy overall, but bitter because when we get to brackets, man, it's just every year. If you're a Duke fan, just start getting an Airbnb in Minneapolis for the weekend because they're going there. So rant aside, it is the best time of the year. I do have softball tournaments this weekend, so I'm going to hopefully get creative with finding ways to watch. And once the softball tournaments are done, going straight to the nearest establishment that has games on TV. Because I was thinking about it, Chris, is like most sporting events, you can turn off your phone, ignore your buddy's group chat, DVR
right.
It is super hard in a way to DVR March Madness because you'd have to DVR like the different channels. And I'm not saying I'm not going to try it, but turn your phone off for a full day, like legit a full day because games are on. I'm trying to find the best way to make up for watching games I've missed, and I don't know how the best way to DVR 4 games at once is. So if you have any suggestions throughout the show, might need to let me know. But I'm overall pretty happy.
Yeah, it's not easy. You're right. What do you just on all 4 channels just DVR the whole freaking day and just figure it out from there? That's probably the only thing you could do, to be honest with you. That is true. That is a bit of a conundrum. That's for sure.
And you gotta turn your phone off, because I got buddies who be texting all day about watching the game. So I don't, you can't really not look at a text. Like I'm gonna try to find the best way to solve this issue. But besides having a weird bout of food poisoning and having to stay at home for a couple of days.
Yeah, right. You're like, geez, it just happened, and I don't know what to do, but I gotta stay home. That's what I do know. I have to stay at home.
I've been advised by doctors.
So you think that the number 1 seed overall shouldn't have a favorable side of the bracket, region? You think that they're supposed to be in the overall number 1?
Never said that. But when we get to that later, we'll compare teams and brackets, and it might be a little bit of a chat, I would say. Now, Duke deserved the 1 now. And actually, brings up an interesting point for kind of a fun debate to start off the show. The only reason Duke was given the 1 seed was because they were basically their losses were washed away due to Zion being hurt. Now, again, I'm not saying this hasn't happened before, but realistically, Virginia and Carolina had a better resume than Duke did this year. But the fact that Zion was out and he's now back, I think that's the true reason why they're number 1. I mean, because yesterday in the committee, they're like, and the true number 1 seed, it's like, no. I mean, I'm not saying that Duke's record is much worse. I mean, you could literally flip a coin between Duke, Virginia, and Carolina, but we beat them twice. So it goes back to that omen that sometimes when the committees look at the tournament, Chris, and a great player is hurt for a couple of games and he loses those games, those losses are shoved under a rug. Yet it's 1 or 2 losses that keep certain teams on the bubble out. So it's always been kind of an interesting concept of how if a great team makes a tournament and their best player was out and they lose 3 games from that, those 3 games don't really truly matter. But if you were a bubble, small-name, mid-major school and you lose your best player, they don't give a shit. So that is kind of an interesting theory, and I truly believe that's why Duke is the number 1 seed overall for this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you did beat them twice this year. You definitely did. Obviously, we know you did that without Zion, obviously, but you did beat them twice.
Sure.
And it was a tight game. It was a tight game with Zion. No doubt about it, obviously. But, you know, they did beat Virginia twice, too, though. They did beat them twice.
Sure, and Virginia beat us. So
right.
Yeah,
so,
kind of a mess.
And then when they were full strength, you know, they did beat you. But it's a 1-point game, so you can't sit there and say, see, I told you. But then, so you think they have a better resume, North Carolina and Virginia, than Duke this year? A better full resume?
I just think, I don't know why this is just kind of hit me now, but and this is just overall, it's that fact that, well, a good player, if he's out and injured, then the losses don't count. But if that's the true meter that the committee has, which they do, I think that should apply to more teams than just the top-end teams. Because you never hear the committee say, well, we looked at this team's resume, and when their best player was out, we kind of gave them a free pass. But I'm sure there's other teams in lower-end situations that had a best player get hurt, but the committee didn't, you know, since they were already a bubble team, you're like, oh, too bad. It's just that theory of, well, you know, since your best player's out, your loss doesn't really affect you. But there's so many teams.
Well, when you
like,
say best player, there is a best player and a best player difference, though, when it comes to Zion and some other best player, right?
True. Oh, completely agreed. Yes. Now, I mean, the perspective of a team's best player.
When you're missing the best player in the country, it's a little different than Jordan Murphy for the Gophers. It is a little different, right?
Sure. It is, but in fairness to the said team is, for example, Texas, who I guess missed out on the tournament this year and were a near-end bubble team. They actually had their best player get hurt for a while. So, in fairness, is Texas's best player being out really that much different from a basketball perspective than Zion being hurt? I know the skill level's different, but it was their best player.
Yeah, I do, because he's the best all-around player on offense and defense in the whole country. There's 380 teams or whatever. So I think that is different. Well, let's go. But you ducked my question, though. You think so North Carolina has a better resume than Duke this year? That's what you said.
I think it's pretty. I'd say it's pretty damn close. I mean, again, I'm not really. I mean, you could draw a straw. I mean, it's a close effort. I just want to bring that point up.
Okay, well, you said it. So now you don't think that, or it's close?
No, well, we beat Duke 2 out of 3 times. I mean, we finished tied first for the ACC tournament. Now, I mean, I guess you'd say Duke won the ACC conference tournaments. I mean, I guess that's point there. I think it's damn close. I don't really see an issue with us both being ones. My more issue is the fact that it's just the best player thing. Because they mentioned that last year with the kid from Mizzou too, and it's been said with other teams before, like even a Michigan State. But you know, I just kind of thought a bigger picture. That whole the best player out, and it's not always been Zion. It's been maybe players like a little bit that not quite as good, but still a factor. I think that's an interesting part of the tournament selection process. But it sure doesn't matter now, so we can move on. Just a little debate topic to start off the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, that is what it's all about. That's definitely what it's all about. So let's get into some of this stuff from last weekend, and we might as well start with the SEC. It's something that we've been, since the Pac-12 doesn't exist. I don't think, do they televise those games? I'm not quite sure. I don't believe they do. Do they televise Pac-12 games? I mean, off the Pac-12 network? I can't remember. I just remember Thursdays
I
on
legit
FSN.
didn't watch. I watched a lot of basketball this weekend. I didn't see a moment of Pac-12, and that was just being a different sport bars. I didn't see a single second, period.
Yeah, I know that. Right, of course they were. I'm just teasing, but yeah, I didn't. I did watch a little bit of Oregon because their center might go to the Wolves potentially, that type of thing. But I don't even know who won the damn game. Anyway, let's start in this SEC. And Tennessee had a nice, 19? I think it was 19 in a row. And then they went on, not really a bad run or anything like that. I mean, shoot, they're 15-3, 29-4 overall. But they, in the big games, they were kind of falling a little short. They ended up kind of getting off that schneid. I'm talking about the semifinal game with Kentucky and Tennessee. Down the stretch, it was a tight game, very tight game, 36-34. In the second half, it was 46-44. So that's a damn tight game. But it felt like Kentucky was starting to separate itself by 4 points, then by 6. And they got up enough with about 5 minutes left that you thought, win this game. They're starting to get a little momentum here. Tennessee just stayed in it. Like I said, they weren't far out by any stretch, but they turned it around and closed the game really, really, really well and got the job done there. I watched that game fairly intensely. That was a good game. It'll be interesting to see, I kind of anticipated Kentucky winning the SEC. Life got in the way last week, so we didn't get a chance to preview these conference tournaments, but that was kind of in my mind. But overall, I was not surprised because Tennessee's a great team. But when I was watching the game live, I thought, okay, they're going to pull away. They're going to pull away. And they didn't. I was really impressed how Tennessee closed that game. And now they've kind of closed up on a pretty good note this year. It's just some of those high-profile games kind of back-to-back, they stumbled, but they were able to get it done. In that particular game, on the other side, Auburn snuck by Florida, who Florida wasn't that bad of a team this year. If you look at the record, 19-15, they were 9-9 in the SEC. They were okay. I think they beat LSU as well, or they beat somebody pretty good. But anyway, so it was Auburn and Tennessee, and I mentioned how Auburn was ranked high, then they kind of fell off. They were dealing with some injuries. They're well coached, and I really liked how they closed the season, Auburn. I was pretty impressed, especially, the championship game in general. So it's really not a big shocker, I guess, though, because we've been talking about how, especially the top 4 teams, top 5-ish 4 teams are really good in the SEC, but I didn't see 84-64 coming. And Auburn really did well down the stretch in the SEC and ended up getting the win and getting higher ranked in the tourney than they would have been, that's for sure, after they were 11-7 in the SEC, so it's not like they were battling for that top 2 spot like Tennessee, like Kentucky, and like LSU.
Yeah, I mean, that the Kentucky-Tennessee game was probably the best game I saw all weekend. And those teams came out and like weren't missing shots at all. It was just like, you shoot, I'll shoot. You shoot, I'll shoot. And like you said, there had to be quite a few moments there where, as a Kentucky fan, you thought that we had this game close enough to pull away for a win. But every time Tennessee fought back, that was a hell of a fun game to watch. And then I think Tennessee was a little bit kind of tired from that game, or mentally. Auburn just smoked them. But in fairness to Auburn, they were just hitting three after three after three and couldn't miss. So I think our expectations of the SEC being a great conference this year a few weeks into the season were true. And we both expected a great conference tournament, and they offered that. So I expect we could easily see Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky all being on our show verbally next week for surviving this first round. I mean, those are three teams playing great basketball right now. LSU's had a hell of a good year too, but when your head coach is on the sidelines and not coaching and having a little bit of drama, that's a little bit of a different X factor for a team who was neck and neck with basically everyone else the whole season. So, yeah, the SEC came out to play this year, and the conference tournament was great, and I expect those teams to make some noise in the tournament as well, Chris.
Definitely, man. Very, very interested how that turns out. LSU, it sure doesn't surprise me that they're struggling right now internally. It's a huge distraction. They've had some really good wins this year. They're a very, very, very good team. Could definitely get to the Final Four, but between the distraction of what's going on, allegedly, and, during the timeouts, you need your head coach to drop a play, right? I mean, that does count in basketball majorly, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's huge. And that dude, he seemed pretty tuned in. I mean, he's built a team there. Now, we don't know if he built it the old Miss football way or not. But, the ones that just kind of jump up and be like, whoa, they're a good-ass squad. Wow, how are they recruiting like this? But also, he's really fiery to the refs as well, man. He really plays the refs, I think, very well. So we'll kind of stay tuned with that. I do think it's going to affect him, though, no doubt about it. In the ACC, there was a big fight. Well, maybe you heard about it. I don't know. Hey, did you hear any ads about Cowboy Stadium where you live, that the fight is happening there at all, like over the last couple of weeks? Just randomly wondering.
No, I know one of my buddies was watching. I didn't hear much about it locally, though. No.
Like not on a radio station, like a sports radio station or something like that? You didn't see an ad or anything?
I'm sure they were. I didn't really listen to podcasts on the way to work back and forth, but I'm sure they were promoting it because I know that it was kind of a big deal around in the area, yeah.
Yeah, it drew 47,000 people. But anyway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it definitely but my reason why I brought that up is and it had no Pacquiao or Mayweather or Canelo, and it drew that. So that's what was really cool about it. It's kind of turning the page. Errol Spence is the future. But anyway, I brought it up because they kind of dodged a bullet to not have Duke North Kakalaka with Zion back, because obviously that brings even more shine to the game this year anyway, comparatively, of course. And for that to happen on Friday night. Now, that was a hard – now, FSU did close this – I mean, they closed super strong, Florida State did. We know they play defense. We know the coach will coach them up. The guys, a solid-ass coach with a solid program. They closed the year red hot and then kept it going by beating Virginia and making it a game down the stretch, no doubt about it. But that Duke, North Carolina game, 74-73, and Zion gets that tip in with about 30 seconds to go to get it done. What'd you think about that game, 44-44 at half? The defense showed up even more. Zion put up 31, and his team scored 74 points. So I do think he does matter. He's shooting 70% from the field. In fact, I bet you it went up. because he come back in style. So we didn't get to talk about this stuff, but I mean, can you come back in style? I know he's a Duke player. I know this. But we've been able to talk about Zion in a positive light because I know you can't even hate this guy because of his smile and his effort. And he does some amazing things.
Yeah.
It's not like Leitner. It's not like all these other douchebags. Not to say that there's not douchebags. And who knows? Maybe Zion's a big douchebag. You never know until you actually see him go through his life in front of the media and maybe some private stuff comes out or whatever. You never know. But he's a likable guy in the court because of the smile, because the dude lays it on the line. But can you come back any better than he did? I mean, going 13 for 13 from the field, dude, that's just ridiculous. And, like, early on, he had that slam dunk, almost a slam dunk contest winning dunk in a game. And it's like, well, I guess his knee's okay. Wow, that dude came back with a vengeance. So talk a little bit about that. I know he's a Dookie, but talk a little bit about that. But also, let's talk about that semifinal game. That was a really tight game down the stretch. And, you know, Kakalaka almost did it. I mean, it was a 1-point game.
Yeah, I mean, he is just it's crazy how good he is. I think the bigger issue is about will his sidekicks always be there with him for how far they'll go. But yeah, I mean, 13 for 13, and whether it's mid-range, whether it's a dunk, whether it's a jumper, whether it's a three, that guy he had a hell of a game. And then, versus Carolina in the semifinals, I mean, it was typical Carolina Duke game. I mean, it was back and forth pretty much the whole game. You know, Carolina was playing with the lead for the most part of the first half. Second half, it was just kind of taking your turn, a little mini runs, up by 3, down by 4, up by 3, down by 4, back and forth, back and forth. And it came down to Carolina having a shot for the win at the end of the game. I love Barry as a player because that kid has the balls, take any shot in any clutch moment, but his shooting could get a little bit better. He shot up a pretty poorly set up shot for the time being. He could have gotten off a better look. I mean, you know, the kid's a freshman. It's a big game. He struggled the first game Duke played Carolina this year, and I think Norman caught up to him a little bit. The shot didn't miss by much. It wasn't like an air ball. It hit the rim and kind of almost rimmed out. But it would have been nicer to get a little bit of a better look than having your point guard with like 5 seconds left do like a fallback, almost long 2-point, 3-point jump shot. But it was a hell of a fun game. You know, anytime we play that team 3 games in a year is cool. Maybe we'll get super, super lucky and play them a 4th time this year. I'd be nervous as hell for that game, but it'd be a pretty fun experience to see. So, yeah, just Zion is the massive, massive factor, and Carolina played pretty well, and I think they both deserve the 1 seed they got this year.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to get into that with the ACC getting the top 3 out of 4, like the Big East did a chunk of years ago. I don't have a problem with it at all. It's not about a problem. It is what it is. I mean, if that's how it goes, that's how it goes. You can't. Too bad. You know what I mean? Beat them. Michigan State had a chance to beat, you know, somebody like, you know, on the high level early in the season. And, you know, either way, we're not there just yet. But, yeah, this game kind of came down to outside shooting. Duke in the outside shooting is going to be the reason why they lose if they do not win the championship. Barrett was 2 for 9 from the outside. Jones 1 from 5. But the problem is North Kakalaka was 4 of 27 as well. So that kind of hurt him. 1 for 6 from Williams, 2 for 7 from Johnson, 0 for 6 from White. So I think that really, you know, that played a part in it. And like I said, Duke, you know, ended up winning the whole thing, beating Florida State. And like I said, Florida State, man, they closed this season very strong. 4th in the ACC, 27-7, and they had it going like I'm trying to look back here. So if you get the end of January, right? The end of January, well, getting near the end of January, the 22nd of January, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row. Then they lost North Carolina. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins. Then they lost to Duke in a tight game. Like they freaking are a team that you cannot sleep on going deep in this tournament, man. The way they
Oh, no.
the way they're coached, the way they play defense.
No, they got a coach there that always has tall type players. I would say that his March Madness resume, I believe, is not quite as good as people expect for the coach he is. I would say that is one weakness they've had, where they always do have teams could go on a run, but they've never really done it. Maybe this is the first year he makes like an Elite Eight run, because we always want to say, man, that's their chance, and he always has a hell of a team. But I think that's maybe the last part of his resume to get it a little better. And I can't believe he's actually 70. The dude looks like 45 or 50. Leonard Hamilton's whatever he takes for aging pills is
wow,
like
dude.
$1 million.
I knew he was older. I knew he was older, but holy crap! I didn't know that.
That's what buddy said. I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's
that's
amazing. I know
crazy.
he doesn't. Yeah. So I mean, I could double check, but I'm pretty sure the dude's 70. Sorry, he looks like he's 50. So yeah, I think that's the last knock on them, is that they normally do underperform, because they almost have a regular season like this almost all the time. So maybe this will be the year where they make a longer tournament appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, they've. I mean, it's not like they haven't gotten anywhere. That's for sure. But yeah, I know what you're saying. As far as getting to the actual Final Four and getting all the way over the hump, I think that's definitely something that is missing on his resume. He's been there for a while too, man. He's been there for quite a while. That's crazy though. I knew he was older, of course, but man, he's been there 17 years. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, Big Ten wise, we'll keep it in the top, the top conferences so far this year that's been going on. The ACC, Big Ten, and SEC, is definitely the top notch. Big 12 has got some interesting teams that they could make a run as well. I mean, you can't sleep on Texas Tech, especially if they can score. You can't sleep on Iowa State, especially if they just go nuts from three. You just don't know. What you do know is Michigan State, I don't believe, is going to get, the last 2 years, obviously last year was his first time losing. Or no, was that 2 years ago that it was his first time losing in the first round? I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where they were a second seed. And then they lost in the second round last year, too, I believe. The last two weekends, they haven't done good, opening weekends. But overall, it's kind of crazy. We talked about this, though, and this is how it works in college. Durant wasn't able to get to a Final Four. I mean, Shaq wasn't able to get to a Final Four, even the Sweet 16. I mean, there's a ton of players that we could go, this guy, and they didn't do shit in the tournament. Not them individually, but their teams. And I bring that up because Michigan State last year, they were stacked to the gills with players. But sometimes there's only one ball, and it's hard. It can be hard sometimes. And now, well, it's kind of strange because they've lost some bodies, but they did get their body back. Now they got a shooting guard who I don't know if he'll be able to return now off of his injury, but at least they got the big man back because they lost that guy now a month ago. That's in the rearview mirror. As long as they got another key, factor back, I think they're good to go. But it seems like less is more, and we see that with college basketball. In fact, you see it in pros once in a while. I mean, look at the Boston College. Look at the Boston Celtics, right? I mean, they had a great year last year. Had all these players, and then you add two more players to the mix. What happens, Marshall? They're nowhere near as good. Now, could they turn it up, in the playoffs? Sure, of course they could. But Michigan State, it's not. Let's not get it twisted. They got plenty of talent, but they're just a better team this year. And some people are complaining about where they got placed. I'm not sure all about that. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. We'll look into that a little bit more, of course. But to beat Michigan 3 straight times in a year, and I was pretty damn impressed, man. And they had that streak where they lost the guy and they lost 3 in a row. and it was like, they're kind of teeter-tottering. And the way they closed, man, they closed so strong. They had that close game, loss on the road to Indiana. But other than that, down the stretch, man, what did you think about the Big Ten tournament? A lot of tight games in the rounds leading up to it. And the way Michigan played against a tired Gopher club who had just beaten Purdue and played 2 nights in a row. Sure, they did look spent because their depth is kind of spent right now. Their starters are a little tired, especially Coffey and Murray. We've had to lean on those guys so much. But the way they played against Iowa, Michigan, and against Minnesota, just blowing those teams out right off the court, right? And the fact that they lost back-to-back games against Michigan State, I just kind of handed the title to Michigan. I really felt that, but Michigan State was like, nope. We're pretty damn good this year, and we don't need to be stacked like we were last year. What do you think of the Big Ten tournament, and what do you think of, in my mind, a tad bit of a surprise because Michigan State beat Michigan 3 straight times this year? That rarely happens.
Yeah, I mean, Izzo, I think, is due for a deeper run. I mean, he's always kind of, up until the last couple of years, he's had some weak moments. March has only always been his, deal. Like, when he used to fill out a bracket, like Michigan State going to the Elite Eight was like a given. And, so, I mean, for as great of a coach as he is, how much longer, can he go without having a more successful March? And I think, obviously, being Michigan, who's had a hell of a year, too, is a step in the right direction. I mean, we talked about on our shows about how their resumes are very identical. For the most part this year, they would have the same record. They'd have pretty similar losses. I mean, pretty much you could flip a coin for the resumes of each other, and which were phenomenal, some of the best in the country.
Yeah.
But the one tipping point is the fact that they beat a great resume 3 times. I mean, that's about as good of a compliment as you can give a team. It would have been the same thing if Carolina had beaten Duke 3 times. It's hard to sweep a competitive rival 3 times, and they did it. And they did in, home, away, neutral. I mean, I don't know. I would not be expecting another earlier exit. I would say that Michigan State Elite Eight is versus the Dukies is a pretty favorable matchup for the odds of predictions.
Yeah, and they're a little bit more grittier this year. They're a little bit, maybe Izzo was just like, man, I gotta get an arsenal with all these damn one and dones and all these super teams. Let me get some of this. And last year it just didn't work out for him. Maybe it did during the regular season, but I don't know, man. They're a better team. Less is more, especially in college basketball sometimes. So kudos to Michigan State. And like I said, there were a variety of that Purdue game, very close game, just to finish my sentence there. That Purdue game in Minnesota was really good. The Penn State, who was honestly a very hot team down the stretch, actually, if you look at it. It's kind of a sleeper, but if you look at the last 10 games of the Big Ten, they're actually pretty damn good. I want to say 6-4 or 7-3, I can't remember, but they're good. And that was a tight-ass game. So my Gophers, got that Purdue win during the regular season that put them in the tournament. And then to beat Purdue, the team that if they would have just beaten Minnesota, they would have won the Big Ten title. To beat them, twice in about 10 days, pretty good. And I'd say the Gophers, just on a homer thing, the Gophers played really, really well in that game. That's probably their best overall game. So it was nice to see my Golden Gophers finish the season strong, winning 4 or 5 when they really needed it. And now they're going against Louisville. So that's kind of a weird matchup. They got some really good bigs. I'm a little troubled because of the depth of our bigs. Good starting lineup for the Ghosts, but, man, they get fall problems sometimes. But anyway, let's move on. Iowa State shoots the ball very well, got to the free throw line, doubled them up on the free throw line. Didn't take it a crazy amount of threes, but more than doubled them up there too. Shot the ball 48%. Just played really well. They kind of staggered down the stretch somewhat, or maybe mid to late. I thought that they'd actually be knocking at the door. So we could talk about that. But also, ding dong, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the Big 12 witch is dead. Kansas finally, after doing this show about, I believe, 8 years or about 8 years, I think. They're finally done. 14 years in a row was enough. We finally got somebody different at the top of the regular season, Big 12, champ or co-champ, however you want to look at it. And then obviously Iowa State takes them out as well. Kansas it's been a long time since they hadn't been a first or second seed. What'd you think of the results? And like I said, we've been calling for it the last couple of years, especially. Like, please. I mean, we're only helping you out, Big 12. We only want you to be a better conference. But how good of a damn conference can you be if you're not, and nobody's winning the damn thing besides Kansas? So that was nice, man. It finally frickin' happened, Marshall.
Yeah, it was about time. It definitely was. It was nice to see someone win the regular season title. That was not Kansas, but instead it was K-State and Texas Tech. Finally, it happened. That was a beautiful thing, and hopefully it repeats itself next year because I don't want Kansas to start on another streak. Maybe Les Miles will make them better football. They can switch sports for a little bit or something. Who knows? Yes, that was beautiful. We finally got our wish. And that Big 12 tournament, I mean, that was another good competitive tournament too. A bunch of great games. I don't think Texas Tech was necessarily happy with getting bounced out. I mean, you'd assume that with Texas Tech or Kansas State win the Big 12, that one of them would have played in the Big 12 tournament in the conference, but it was Iowa State, Kansas, which is a little more of a common theme from the last couple of years. So both those teams probably were a little upset. But at worst, if as long as it's not an awful team loss or an issue comes up, you get a little extra rest. But for Iowa State's perspective, my second favorite team, I was happy for them. When they're on offensively, that is a tremendously fun team. They're maybe not the top echelon of like Duke, Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee. They're not the level A teams this year. But they're a level B team when their offense hits. Now, when their offense doesn't, they're dropped down to like a C or a D. But when they're right, that team is, I would say, a top 12 team in the country. Now, again, can you put together your A level?
I go top 13. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I'm just fucking with you. I go top 13. I got a big bone to pick with you on that one.
But the thing is, can you do that for 3 games in a row or something? Because they always, and they got a hell of a tough draw too. But they're always a competitive team. But they've had issues kind of similar to Florida State. Again, a very good team that has good years. Now they've had two different coaches now, but they never seem to make that deeper run. So will this be that Iowa State can make it past the first weekend or make it to an Elite 8 of per se, because the talent's always there. So, yeah, if they can get hot, that's not a team you really want to face at all. But, again, of course, they're in the Tar Heels bracket. So is Kansas. So is Kentucky. Holy God.
Should I get a violin? I'm going to cue up a violin here really quick. So I got to get that on ready. Villanova.
You want to start with that bracket once you do? I said, well, let's start it when we get to the South. Let's start out South so I can get my rant over.
That's funny. Okay, Villanova. Man, Marquette just shit the bed to close this season. It's like, remember, the whole season it was a two-man race to see who would win, and then it was a two-man race, or two-team race, a two-team race to win the Big East all year long. And then it was a two-team race to lose the Big East. No, you got it. No, seriously, you got it. No, I'll lose 3 in a row, then I'll beat you, Marquette, speaking for Villanova. No, then I'll lose. Oh, I got it in the bag. No, I'll lose. It was kind of silly how that's gone. Marquette really fell flat on their face. Really, Villanova did too until they, once they got that Marquette win, then all of a sudden, here we go, they're getting going. They ended up beating Seton Hall, a scrappy Seton Hall, 74 to 72. Buffalo, who a lot of people are either high or low on, depending upon who you talk to, they won their MAC as well. And then Cincinnati got Houston back and ended up, beating them in the AAC. Then Cincinnati have been ranked pretty much all year, especially Houston. They've definitely been in and around the scene. But any other things that you'd like to speak upon when it comes to what we saw over the weekend on the conference stuff?
No, I'd say we wrapped it up. I'd say I'm good to move on to the bigger tournament. you got any final touches on that?
No, I think you're right. I'm ready to move on.
Well,
there's
four. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You could start us off if you like.
Yeah, there's four regions, and the South one I think is the most loaded one. Or no, excuse me, I had this backwards. The Midwest region, I would say, is definitely, in my thoughts, the most loaded bracket. With having Carolina, who was tied to win the ACC this year, Auburn just won the SEC tournament. Kansas, even though they've had a down year, still Kansas. You throw in Iowa State, who just won the Big 12 tournament. Houston, who had a hell of a year. And then you got Kentucky as well, and Wofford, who is like that team no one knows about, who was ranked all year. I mean, that is just a gauntlet of a bracket. In my opinion, I would say it's the most competitive one. Obviously, teams start killing each other, but I mean, to see Auburn and Kansas and Iowa State, Houston all play in the first weekend, that's going to be a hell of a tournament, Chris.
So North Carolina got screwed, is what you're telling me.
It's going to be a tough journey to Minneapolis.
So Duke, everybody loves Duke, and they get the best. Everybody shits on North Carolina. This is horrible. The world's against North Carolina because they made up fake classes. Is that what it is?
Pretty much, yep.
Well, can you complain right now at least a little bit more? I got the music queued up for you, for Christ's sake.
I'm good. I'm ready to make some picks.
All right.
I mean, obviously, I think.
Let's save that side, since that is the beast. All right. Let's save the beast, and let's go to the east. Okay. Let's try that.
All right.
Let's try that. Now, at the top of the food chain, obviously, is Duke. And, I don't know how well-versed you are with the Pell Show, right? I don't know how you are, but they had this skit making fun of P. Diddy's Making the Band reality show back in the day. And there was this rapper on there named Dylon. And his top 5 rappers were Dylon, and Dylon. Everybody, he was the top 5. That was his claim to fame. But as we know, the East and the whole US of A, the whole world really, it's all about Zion, and Zion. Duke is number 1 overall, as we know. The only threat they have is, of course, the Minnesota Gophers, a 10th seed. It's the only threat they have in the whole conference. Now, real quick, before we make these picks, is Mississippi State a 5th seed? Is that legit? Did they legitimately get a 5th seed there? Are you on board with Mississippi State getting a 5th seed? They did beat Wofford. They beat Wofford in the regular season. I'll give them that. But what'd you think of that? But just real quick, I'm a little shaky. They finished 10-8, 1. They finished 6th in the Big 12, or I'm sorry, in the SEC. What am I missing here? What am I missing? Did they beat a ranked team this year? They had to. Oh, Wolford. Cincinnati. Okay. Oh, they lost to Arizona State. My bad. How is this happening? Where did Mississippi State? How? Can you explain this? Is this another Duke thing? Is this a way for Duke to get Zion to the Final Four? Who said, "Fuck it, put Mississippi State at 5."
I don't remember really talking about them at all this year for any like big SEC games.
In football,
they lost.
They got a good club in football. I know that. Nice little running quarterback, but I don't know. Does he play football?
They lost to Auburn. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to LSU. They lost to Bama. Kentucky swept them. They beat Florida.
Okay. I mean,
I don't know.
How'd this go? I mean, what the hell is this all about? I'm picking Liberty just based off this shit. I'm picking Liberty just based off this. I don't know how they bulldogged their way. I'm starting to believe you with this Duke conspiracy, giving the damn Mississippi State the 5th seed. So just going down, some of the best. I mean, I'm going Liberty over Mississippi State. I'm going Virginia Tech. I'm going Duke, VCU, and UCF. I'm going UCF. What says you, gentlemen? Kind sir.
I'm going VCU just because I know they once beat Duke about 8 or 9 years ago with Maynard. So I'm gonna, just for the sake of karma and the sake that I haven't seen VCU or UCF play this year, I'm going VCU.
Well, you know, the UCF is pretty good at football. I don't know if you know. They're like the backup quarterback in town. Put them in, coach. They actually beat some good teams down the stretch in their conference. So I'm going UCF. The way they're going to make the national championship game. It'll just be in basketball, won't be football. This is how they're going to make it. So I got that. And just to kind of stay in here and finish this off, we might as well. I got Virginia Tech beating Liberty, and then Duke beating UCF, and Duke moving on to Sweet 16. Same with Virginia Tech. Is that the weirdest shit or do you have Mississippi State going to the Sweet 16?
No. I don't think Vodtek's that great. Honestly, I've seen them play, and I think they lack some. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're better than Liberty. Or
if they hit threes, they're better than Mississippi State. But if they hit threes, then they're a tough club. But if they're not hitting threes, they things happen after that. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I got Duke and Vodtek up there. Yes, sir.
All right. So I got Michigan State, and I have to pick Minnesota. I got Michigan State moving on to the Sweet 16. Louisville or Minnesota, I guess, is the question I should ask you, because I believe you think the Sparty is going to make the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I do, and the only cool thing about Louisville, Minnesota, is that will the what's the best word to put, the gangster of college basketball coaches, will he be in attendance to watch his son coach? It's kind of cool for the stripper gate scenario to be facing a team that his son's now coaching. I heard he's flying back from Greece to watch the game, so Pitino will be in the stands cheering for the goal.
He'll be in the huddle.
Against the sport.
He'll be in the huddle, dude. What are you talking about? He's going to be in the huddle, dude. You know, he's giving his whole game plan away right now. But, you know, it's not gangster to do strippers, though. You can't give him the gangster title. Unless we're going to call what's the gangster too, then. The New England Patriots Kraft, is he a gangster too, then? Because he's into that category anyway. But no, Pitino is going to be in the huddle. He's going to be elbowing his kid and be like, "Dude, get out of my way. You do not dress as slick as me. Get the hell out of here." So you got Louisville or Minnie?
I would bet Louisville first half and go first to win, because Louisville's been great this year as first half team. So I'll take your Ghosts to win that game and then lose to.
Yeah, they're hot. And that's a good take. That's a really good take, Marshall, about the first half. So Maryland or Belmont / Temple. I got LSU beating Yale because they're both cheaters, right? Yale is a cheater too because they have somebody working for their school that takes the payment straight up and gets their kids in the school. So LSU and Yale are in the same category right now as far as me. They're both in trouble with the FBI for different reasons, obviously. That's just normal getting into school. You don't need to buy your way into LSU, no offense. I got LSU and I got Maryland and LSU moving on. How about you, sir? You going with Belmont or Temple?
I'm going to be a little choosier with that, but I'm going to take whoever wins that first game. Because we have seen that now kind of become a theme, Chris, where and it's not the 16 against the 1, unless you're Virginia, cough, cough. Those bastards. Normally, one of the teams will play a play-in game that's for the 11th seed almost always wins their next game because you have momentum. Your team played 2 days ago. You're riding the high. You walk in there, and boom, all of a sudden you win a second game. We've seen that happen so much. So I'm going to take the winner of Belmont Temple to beat Maryland. And just with that momentum, it's happened, I want to say the past 3 to 4 years in a row, or the last 3 out of 4. It's just that extra advantage, I guess, of just boost of energy and confidence. I think that carries over because Maryland, they were pretty hot this year, Chris, around January, and they kind of faded away.
Yep.
We haven't heard much about them. They didn't make a deep run in the Big Ten tournament. So I'm going to roll the dice with a team who will be playing with a little bit of an extra edge to them, definitely an underdog. A lot of people don't think Belmont deserved to get in. That was the only minor bubble talk I heard. Some people thought Belmont was a joke. I mean, bulletin board material, I will take that against the Turtles because I don't think Juan Dixon or Jerry Williams are coming back.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that play-in and whatever it is, just getting the mojo going. I don't know what it is, the rhythm going, or I don't know. Maybe it's just, shit, we got to win just to get to the big dance, that desperation. We see that in sports, across all sports, but especially in college sports. Something about the youth that they just got that extra grit. By the way, just checking in on Zion since he's been back the last 4 games. 30 points, 11 boards, 3 steals, shooting 44% from 3 and 75% from the field. Just figured I'd do a little check-in there with you, unless you know, just in case you haven't been thinking of Zion in the last couple of minutes. I got Gonzaga moving on. I don't think I'm really going out on a limb there. I got him actually going on this Sweet 16. Now, Syracuse and Baylor. Baylor looked lost at sea. And then all of a sudden, they put some wins together. They managed to get into the tournament. Syracuse, Baylor, I'm going Cuse, just barely. But that's a good game. Really kind of it's a 50-50. It's 8-9, so that's about what the percent should be. What says you?
I'm leaning Cuse there, too. Yeah, I'm leaning Syracuse. I Baylor just, I don't know. The Syracuse, they've put together a pretty damn good year. And they took down Duke this year. They played competitive. You know, Boeheim always has that zone. I mean, yeah, I'm leaning orange there, and obviously Gonzaga's going to kick the crap out of whoever they got to play. And I'm assuming you have Gonzaga going on, and you have them slipping up.
Yeah, I got Zags going Sweet 16.
Okay, yeah, I do too. I mean, but again, either team does play a zone, so I know some people have given Gonzaga shit because they didn't win their tournament. Some people thought they maybe didn't deserve a 1 seed because, you know, what really was their best win. You know, those kind of back and forth. I do think Gonzaga makes the Sweet 16. They only obviously have pretty good runs, but I would say as a Gonzaga head coach, I wouldn't say he's smiling about the matchup because playing zone teams that you don't really see all year is a different perspective. I still think they have the skill level to get past it, but again, if you're Gonzaga, I think you'd rather play the Utah State, Washington, Mississippi, or Oklahoma, pretty much every 8 or 9 seed around, or VCU, UCF. Having to face the zones like, shit, we haven't seen this for maybe all season. Now we have to throw together a quick game plan. Like, that kind of puts coaches in a tough spot, but that's why, you know, they make the big bucks. From this point on, I will take Florida State to beat Vermont. University of Vermont. But I guess my first upset pick, I'll take Murray State. I don't think this is much of an upset pick. Marquette's lost 5 out of 6, I believe. Murray State's got what some people say is the best scorer in the country, in Jay Morant, I believe. I mean, dude, one team is cold. One team's got a kid that can go off. It's your typical 12-5 matchup. I mean, this has all the writings on the wall. Just to have the smaller name team with a flat-out stud that Marquette can't stop. And Marquette's been going in a negative way to wrap up the season. I'm taking Murray State and Florida State. I will take Murray State to sneak out of that one to the Sweet 16. So that'll be a 12 season for me because I think Leonard Hamilton will have his hiccups, and that's my pick there, brother. What do you think?
Well, this is I'm going to go the opposite, but the same. I'm going Murray State, and the reason why I'm doing that is because, like you said, Marquette's struggling and all the things you said, but also a thing I think about is the next round for these upsets. And when you're on a point system, you're like, well, I don't think they're going to beat them anyway. So I'm going to, that type of thing. I don't think Marquette is going to beat FSU personally. And so you look at it and you go, okay, the 5-12 makes sense. Historically, data shows that, the 4-13 for a while was sneaking up. Shit, even the 3-14 a handful of years ago. It's definitely big. The 6-11's been huge as well. But yeah, not only the 5-12 angle, but the angle of I don't see them beating them, Marquette. So I'll pick the upset because I don't see Marquette beating FSU. I have the Seminoles moving on. Buffalo got the 6th seed. They've been highly ranked a lot of the year. They're an experienced club. Can St. John's or ASU push them in the first round? I'm going to say Buffalo gets by that game. Not to say that it won't be tight, though. And then I got Texas Tech, and Texas Tech beating Buffalo to get to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I don't think if you're Buffalo, you can really overlook an 11 seed when you're an underdog yourself. It'd be one thing, I guess, for Marquette, who is a Major 5 conference or lose a regular 5 or 6 seeds. You're like, oh, God, we outplayed some underdog scrappy team. Shit, Buffalo had such a good underdog scrappy team in the ranked 6. So I'm with you on that angle. I know it does kind of go against what I said for the first time of they'll be playing a team who played 2 nights ago, but I will take Buffalo to win against Arizona State or St. John's, who are pretty weak-ass resumes. I mean, I can't believe the Pac-12 let 3 teams get in. I know Washington obviously got it in Oregon, but in Arizona State, like, really, what'd you do? But anyways, I'm with you, though. I do think despite Texas Tech having a hiccup in the Big 12 tournament, they've put together a pretty damn good season. They do have issues scoring, but they've had issues scoring late in games against very top-end teams, such as like a Duke game or Kansas on the road. I mean, they didn't really have weak moments against weaker squads. So I will take the Red Raiders to get past the weekend, and hopefully Buffalo wins the game because that'd be a pretty cool story. And then we trickle actually from Tulsa, Oklahoma, up the road to Iowa, probably about a 7-8 hour drive. I got Michigan beating Montana, so we'll make that one quick. And I do think that Florida gets past Nevada. Nevada was the really cool story to start off the year. They were ranked in the top 10 for it seemed to be like pretty much the whole month of November and December. But they got in a super, super bad habit of being down at half for a ton of games against like garbage teams. And they would come back in the second half and win. But it was just like if you're a dominant top 10 ranked team in a smaller conference, why aren't you killing people? So I think Chris, the mystique of them making a tournament run last year with a cool coach and a supermodel wife, I think that all kind of like wore off this year. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be in the tournament, but
right.
I think their magical run last year kind of like, Nevada's not quite that good. Like they're good, but we're not. I think they were like a top 10 seed to win the whole thing. Like when the season started in Vegas. Nevada's like 12 or 16-1. It's like something like that's like, whoa. And now you see they're a 7 seed. And it's like, okay, so they kind of came back to reality. And you're playing a Florida team who just had a pretty damn good appearance in the SEC tournament. If if 3 refs call a Florida player being ambushed by like an octopus of hands, Florida might have beat Auburn. I mean, I like the Florida squad here. They pretty much played tight this year against Kentucky, LSU, and Tennessee. They took a lot of punches, and they have a much better resume to me than Nevada. Now, could Musselman have another magical run in March? Sure, but I'll take the Gators. So I guess I like the 10 seed and the 12 seed in this division, so some higher numbers going against chalk, but I think Michigan beats whoever wins, flat out, brother.
Yeah, I mean, Utah State's a pretty good club. They beat them. San Diego State, beat them twice this year. Beat Nevada. So, yeah, and it kind of falls under a lot of the points you said. Florida has closed really well. They played a tough schedule. And I think Michigan's going to beat them both. So why not pick the 10th there? I'm going to go Nevada, but I see where you're going with that. And I like it. But you got the Wolverines moving on too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All righty. So 2 more regions to go. We're going to go, we were on the West Coast. Now we're going to the South. And we're going to finish with the Midwest, which, as we know, is the best just in general, not just the conference stuff. I'm talking about in general the Midwest. Virginia is not going to lose again as the number 1 seed. Can we agree on that? Radio silent.
I'll go 98% chance. You can never rule it out. There is a legit 2% chance that Virginia could lose that game. There could be fluke sickness. There could be a guy dropping 50. You never know. But I would be against it.
All right. That took you I hope the rest of the questions I have for you that are that easy don't take that long. Ole Miss in Oklahoma. Somehow Oklahoma is higher seed than Minnesota and some other teams, but we're not going to get into that. We're just going to let that play out. Just off a straight bias, I'm going Ole Miss to beat Oklahoma. I don't know why, but I think Virginia's going to Sweet 16, so I don't really care who wins the game. It's just going to be one of those point that you pick up in the first round. I'm really torn. I didn't see either of these teams much. I'll just be honest. But I got Virginia going to Sweet 16.
I mean, just looking at Oklahoma's regular season schedule quick, they beat Kansas at home, but they lost at Kansas State. They lost to West Virginia. They lost at Iowa State. They lost at Baylor. They lost at Iowa State again. They lost to Texas Tech. I mean, it kind of looks very similar to the Mississippi State bracket of this. I mean, you can't rip a team too badly for finishing like 5th or 6th in I don't know. We're finishing lower end in the division, but again, I mean, they're they've won 2, 3, 4. They finished 8th in the Big 12. So, who cares? Whatever, we're wasting time. I got Virginia beating both, but I will take I'll take the Sooners. Who cares? I'll Boomer Sooner. Moving on. This is a part that sometimes you watch the ESPN shows and they're talking about these brackets. I think it was Jay Bill saying Oregon's one of the hottest teams in the country. Well, the fact that you have the nerve to say a Pac-12 team is one of the hottest teams in the country, I think it's slightly contradictory. Because you'd be implying they've won a bunch of great games. He's probably trying to get his kid
into college, dude. He's probably trying to get his kid into college, dude. Going to Oregon.
So, I mean, the Badgers are the crew I normally always go on this March trip with this year, and I'm not doing it due to teaching and coaching. It kills me, and especially because they're going to
get the violin out again. Don't let me get the violin out. Go ahead. No, it doesn't suck. I just really there.
Oh yeah, so I'll try to make it next year for sure. I'll take the Badgers though. I would feel like I'd be going against family. They're taking against them. I do think that for the Badgers you have Ethan Happ, who's a phenomenal post player, who is he's a threat down low. I guess Oregon's been on a good run. The only thing that scares me, which my buddy summed up perfectly for Wisconsin, is that even when they win this year, they don't blow people out. So this could be a Badger win, but it's going to be a 6-7 point game at most. I just feel it's going to be a close game. Wisconsin played Oregon 3 or 4 years ago in March Madness. I mean, they were kind of, I guess, teams that for some reason seem to meet up quite a bit. But I'll take the Badgers. Yeah. I mean, Badgers, they didn't have a bad year in the Big Ten this year, but it wasn't the equivalent of Michigan State. So, I mean, the Badgers are a respectable team. And so I will take them to win.
They better hope it's not on the free throw line, though. It better not come down to free throws.
Yeah.
Because Ethan Happ is garbage at free throws, obviously. I don't know how he's that bad, but that guy sucks at free throws.
And they actually normally have gotten to the point this year where they just sub him out, and they do the back and forth deal for the defensive end and offensive end, and it's scary that he's that bad.
That's probably helping his draft stock, isn't it?
Yeah, it is bad. And I've heard a few people say UC Irvine has a chance to upset K-State. And so just for the fun and the grins of doing this show, I've seen a couple different websites, a couple people say it. I'm going to take UC Irvine because those last couple of years it's been a 12 or 13 or 14 seem to have done it. So I'll go UC Irvine over K-State, and the Badgers get lucky to sneak through 14-low bracket right there, sir. Again, that is just kind of a ballsy, gutsy pick. K-State lays an egg, and I'll take UC Irvine to beat them.
Oh, man. This one's tough in the second round. I got Wisconsin and K-State there.
Okay.
Oh, man. This one's tough. This is probably the toughest pick I've had to make so far. And it's Monday. That's tough to pick this game on a Monday. Should I crank the violin up for me? I think I should. I hate them, but I respect them. I'll go with the damn Badgers. I'll go with the Badgers to get this 16. Oh, man, I don't know. That'll be one where if I fill out 3, it'll flip a coin. I'll pick one Kansas State, one Wisconsin, and I'll flip the coin for the other one. Because that's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Speaking of that, if you have any brackets where I can Venmo you some money, I want to get some action. I don't think we're doing any teacher things. I don't have any online friends. So if you have any of those brackets, put in $20, $30, I would gladly send you some money by phone to enter in brackets for fun. Last year I took brackets off the phone and it kind of killed me. So I know you always have some hookups, so feel free to pass that along so we can brag about maybe win some cash over the break.
Win some Skrilla.
I mean, for the rest of our pick segment here, it gets brutal because I mean we're about to get to the Midwest, which is just a dungeon. But even this is crazy. St. Mary's, who has always been a really just kind of damn good team in their conference, but's never beat Gonzaga, finally does. So they sneak in the tournament, and you see yourself get a draw, which is okay. We're an 11 seed. That's awesome. And then you got to play Villanova, who I know isn't having a great year for their standards, but who in God's bleeping name wants to face Jay Wright and Villanova? I mean, that's such an awful situation for freaking St. Mary's. Like, hey, we made the tournament, and we got to play Nova in Connecticut. So that place is going to be % Nova fans traveling from Philly. St. Mary's is a small private Catholic school. I mean, that's a very tough draw.
And the coach is going to steal your girl, too. Coach is going to steal your girl. Dang.
I mean, just both factors alone, I'm taking Nova. The traveling, it's going to be a small-ass crowd. Villanova's going to pack the gym. That is a brutal slap in the face to St. Mary's for making it. But is what is, I guess. So I'll take Nova to win there. And then you got Purdue, who doesn't seem to never make
Purdue,
it.
Though.
Yeah.
It's Purdue. I think it's more brutal for Purdue. Like, hey, buddy, you split the Big Ten championship. Yeah, you're third seed. Yeah, you kind of shit on yourself down the stretch. You could have won it outright. But there you go. You're in Hartford. Go get them, champ.
That is such a home field advantage. It's really been the first big noticeable one this year, or we've noticed. But I mean, that is, man. So I'm taking Purdue and Nova, but I'm taking Nova. That is such for being a 6 seed, Chris. That is some very nice home cooking treatment because Nova travels, and Connecticut to Pennsylvania ain't that far. So I'm taking Nova with the home proximity and having the best coach out of the 4.
Taking Nova in a triple overtime game. But I got Nova, but it ain't going to come easy. It ain't going to come easy. It's triple overtime.
I love that.
And basically
That's awesome.
the ref kind of catches eyes with the head coach of Nova and just gets blown away by his suit and misses a call at the end, and shit happens. You know what I mean? It happens, dude. It happens.
It does.
Cincinnati and Iowa. Cincinnati closed really well. They play hard-nosed. That's a tough one, man. These are all freaking – you're right, dude. Between the second rounds and the first rounds, this shit's getting tough for a Monday. It's Monday, for Christ's sakes. I'm not ready to make these picks. I haven't filled out one bracket yet. What, are you kidding me? Fuck. I'm going to go Cincinnati, and then obviously the Volunteers to voluntarily go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I got Rocky top for Tennessee. I think they win, and I think Cincinnati-Iowa would be a fun game, kind of one of those scrappier, slower-paced defenses. Hopefully Iowa's head coach doesn't drop the F-bomb on someone walking out to the door and kicked out the game so he can – you know that the reason –
And then fall down and smile anyway? Oh, wait, that was the Nebraska coach. My bad.
But, yeah, the reason Iowa's head coach got suspended was because he told a ref after the game in the tunnel hallway that he was an effing disgrace. And then his apology to the media was, I apologize for saying those words where people could hear. I thought we were just in the tunnel. So,
which doesn't get you off the hook. It doesn't help.
Saying, hey,
I didn't know everybody saw me punch this dude in the head. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Okay. What?
I don't regret calling the ref an F disgrace. I'm just apologizing if someone hurt me because I don't like people to hear.
Right.
that dude is something else. That's right. He gets suspended about once a year, but he still keeps a job.
He
there.
does.
I don't know. But Iowa coaches, they never leave. I guess once you're in Iowa City, you stay there.
Success, dude, you're gonna stay.
Onto the gauntlet of death. Now, would you say this is the toughest bracket, or would you disagree with your co-host?
No, I'd say it's the toughest bracket.
All right. So to make matters easy for the top, my Carolina boys play. Thankfully, it's on a Friday, Sunday, because I have softball this week, Thursday and Saturday. So actually, pretty much every team I root for in this whole damn tournament all plays on, hopefully, knock on wood, Sunday. Carolina ain't going to lose to Iona. I pray not, because if they do, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the next show.
Hold on.
That'd be scary.
Houston's the third seed? This isn't the toughest bracket. Houston's the third seed. Kansas is the half-rate Kansas here is the fourth seed? I don't know. Keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I just saw that. I didn't mean to mess with you.
I would say Houston's actually pretty damn. Houston had a really damn good year, I would say, in my opinion. You could be giving me shit, but Houston looked pretty damn scrappy and scary for a mid-major. Utah State, Washington, I don't know. Christ. I'm going to say Utah State. I'm not going to pick a Pac-12 team in this damn tournament. So Carolina beats Utah State, and they move on to Kansas City, which would be nice because I can maybe see them in person in a couple of weeks. Any disagreements with Carolina not pulling a Virginia, and who the hell are you taking between Utah State and Washington?
I like that subtle shot. Not so subtle. Yeah, I like North Carolina. I don't like them, but I'll pick them to go ahead. And
sure.
then, good West Coast game. Very
True.
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they do play basketball in the West. So the best West Coast game is in the tournament, not during a conference year. Go figure.
Yeah, exactly.
This one's tough. I mean, it's an 8 and 9 and stuff, but you know what? Oh man, Utah State's played good down the stretch. I'm gonna go Washington, but that'll be a flip of the coin one for me too. In the 2 or 3 that I'll do, I'll flip a coin for that third one. I'll pick both and then flip a coin. Yep.
Sure.
But I got North Carolina going anyway.
And then, the reason I hope that, this one gets a little interesting. I know that Kansas did have a kind of a shit year. They did. But what scares me as a Carolina fan is that if Carolina wins, which I think will make it out the first weekend, that next round's in Kansas City. and then it becomes another bullshit Kansas home game against us. So I'm doing this a little bit of a pick to be biased. I'm going to say Kansas and Auburn win their first 2 games. But I think for the way the teams have been playing, I do think that Auburn actually beats Kansas. So Carolina plays Kansas in Kansas City, and Carolina does not play Kansas or whatever. Yeah, I do think Auburn and Kansas win. I think, like I said, Auburn's on a damn tear. That's kind of a team I don't want to face because the way they've been playing. And if Northeastern beats Kansas, that will make my day. I think that'd be really cool. But yeah, I will take Kansas and Auburn, and I think the War Eagle takes down the Jayhawks.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I just don't think Kansas is a good club this year, really, or very good. They're just okay. They're mediocre, and to lose the center and then to have that other guy leave the guard, like it miss a bunch of time, they're just not the same squad as they normally are. And even when they are, man, they either make the frickin' the Final Four and win it all, or the Final Four and the championship game, or they'll lose in the second round. That's kind of Kansas. So I'm going Auburn with you as well. Auburn and North Carolina in Kansas City. So, it's not a home court advantage, although I don't know if it'll matter this year. But you do make a good point about that. But, yeah, I'm right there with you.
And then my Iowa State boys, I don't know, maybe I should take a drink from your tea and think that Houston isn't that great. I do think that Iowa State beats Ohio State. Ohio State this year did not have I would say year of their normal standards. I'm not saying that they're trash, but I like Iowa State's odds of winning, and they will have home court in Oklahoma. Obviously, Ohio State travels as a university, but I like Iowa State to win.
Sure.
I think Houston, based off their tough defense, wins. And then I think that's going to be a badass game Sunday. I'm an Iowa State guy, so I'm going to pick them. But I think that Houston, at least, they appear to be an incredibly defensive team. They only lost like 2 games at home all year. Their resume looks pretty damn sexy for a mid-major. But I'm hoping that they have a little bit of a night off. And, actually, home court advantage probably dead even. Iowa State traveling down to Oklahoma and Houston traveling up. That should be a really fun game to watch Sunday. Hopefully it goes the right way for me. I'll take Iowa State to advance, but I could realistically flip a quarter or stay away from it gambling because, I don't know, maybe I bought into it. But Houston, I heard a lot of good stuff this year, so I think that should be a very fun, competitive 3-6 game. Do you see any upsets happening there, or are you going with Houston versus Iowa State as well?
You're right about Houston being the sexy pick. The problem is they're sexy and they know it. That's the problem. Iowa State, I got Iowa State. But that is going to be a damn good game. And once again, that's a flip of the coin. I usually put 3 in. And that third one, I'm going to pick, Houston in one of them, Iowa State in the other, and I'm flipping the coin on that. Wolford and Seton Hall, dude, that's a good game.
Yeah.
That's a very good game. I like that for a first-round game. Seton Hall obviously closed pretty damn strong. They're a pretty good club this year. What says you about this 7-10?
It appears that Wofford can just simply shoot lights out. They normally kind of have that reputation, and they got their nickname's the Terriers. That's kind of cool nickname. I've heard they can shoot, and the numbers are kind of scary. So I'm taking Wofford. I mean, anytime you can pick a little bit of a Cinderella team against a bigger name team, I'll go with it. So I'll take Wofford to advance. I hope Wofford and Buffalo both win their first games. It's kind of cool to see the smaller name teams win some games. And I think Wofford has a great chance in doing that. Now, unfortunately, I think their tournament life will be 1 win and not 2. Shit, if it's 2 wins, we'll be that'll probably be the leadoff story next week, unless something else crazy happens. Because I don't think they're going to beat Kentucky. But I like Wofford against the Seton Hall Pirates. I don't think Coach Cal loses in Jacksonville, where my crew will be. I think there will be plenty of cats chance more than enough, especially when people are intoxicated. But I'll take Kentucky to advance from the first weekend and end Wofford's 1-win season in March. Now,
you want to talk gangster. Coach Cal, that's a gangster right there. That's a game. All right.
His interviews whenever they make the brackets are always.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite part of the brackets. It's so good. It really is. And I saw someone on Twitter make a collage of all of his moments of being interviewed. I guess it was really good. So if you want to just look up like Coach Cal's reaction to brackets, there's like a 5-6 minute video somewhere on Twitter of all of his comments and stories, and he really is just a hilarious guy that bullshits quite a bit. So it's pretty enjoyable you can find. It's pretty entertaining stuff.
I agree. It is very funny, and I look forward to it. I found out how Oklahoma and Mississippi State either got into the tournament or got favorable seeds. Well, both.
Okay.
They beat Wolford.
Oh.
That's how they did it.
Oh.
That's how they got in. They beat Wolford. North Carolina opened the season against Wolford. Smacked them around a little bit. Oklahoma beat them. Kansas beat them. Mississippi State beat them. So they challenged themselves, but they were shown not to be much of a challenge in these games. So I'm going Seton Hall. I'm going the Pirates, but I'm going with you on Kentucky. I'm right there with the Cats. Kentucky moving on, and that about wraps up our Sweet 16 finalists. I should say. I was about to say Sweet 16 predictions, but that'll be the next show.
I mean, I'll just ask you one question to wrap it up. I mean, who of all the 1 seeds, who do you think would have the best chance of losing this weekend? There's always going to be that one seed game that's super close. I mean, I think Duke kicks the crap out of whoever. I mean, I guess Carolina. I don't know. Besides, I mean, I would cross off Duke. So between Virginia, Carolina, and Gonzaga, would it be the safe money to say that the toughest matchup could be Gonzaga playing Baylor or Syracuse due to the zone factor? Would you kind of lean that way with me, or would you go to Carolina playing Utah State or Washington, or UVA playing Mississippi or Oklahoma? What would you answer for that one, my friend?
I got thrown off there for a second. I thought you meant in the first round. I'm like, dude, come on, really? Like you gonna ask this question?
First weekend.
Okay, yeah, okay, I got you. I misunderstood you. That's my fault.
Sure.
That's a really good question. Yeah, I'd probably say Gonzaga. Who's North Carolina again? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
All right.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got Gonzaga. I got Gonzaga losing in the first weekend. If one of the first seeds are going down, number 1 seed's going down, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a good call. That's an interesting question, though.
And for your sake, I hope that the Gophers beat Pitino's former school and upset Sparty, because then you'd be freaking doing somersaults and flips in your backyard celebrating the Gopher appearance on the Sweet 16. That'd be pretty badass. Did they beat Sparty at all this year?
I'll slip and fall on my ass with this ice if I'm doing it in my backyard. But yeah, no, they didn't. They got beat on the road.
Oh.
The Gophers had to play Michigan 3 times this year, Purdue 3 times this year, Wisconsin twice, Maryland twice, Iowa twice, and Purdue on the road. Just so you know, just for those keeping track at home, just so you know. That's a lot.
They're
battle
tested.
They're something like that. I mean, they're freaking limping right about now, scratched up and limping, just trying to get out of the forest. Like, I just want to go home. But yeah, if they can get 1 win, I'll be happy as hell, no doubt about it. Because I think the way they closed, they started really well, they closed really well. They had some random things happen to them. They got over the hump. They played bad in spots. Their outside shooting was crappy for a chunk of time. But overall, I like the way the Gophers closed. That Purdue game at home was huge. We had a variety of impact recruits that night in the crowd, and when you can have the whole crowd rush on the thing and have the seniors be on the mic, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Because we're looking for a big man to take over for Murphy when he leaves, or at least to be like a quality player to plug in there with what we got coming back next year. So one game is all I'm asking. But, yeah, if we beat Sparty, that would be nuts. That would be fun. But, you know, this isn't the year Sparty's going to lose in the first weekend because the Gophers will have to play him. So, of course, they're not going to lose. But, yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. That's
Fair
just
enough.
my theme from the Living in Loserville podcast that we do about the Timberwolves and Gophers. It just kind of stays with you. It's in your system, you know?
All right, we'll wrap up this show. I mean, it is the best time of the year. Make up whatever excuse you got. Find a way to stream the games at work. Use your laptop. Use your 2 laptops. Use an iPad. Call in sick. Go to the doctors for a foot issue you've been having for months, and he puts you in a boot, and then you can't work. I mean, pull out whatever excuse you got. I'm off all day Sunday. I think Saturday by about 3 o'clock I'll be free. So from Saturday from 3 p.m. until 11 p.m. and Sunday from 10 to 10, life doesn't get much better. The numbers would tell you that there will be a 12, 13, or 14 seed on our next show. It just seems lately for the past 4 or 5 years, some double-digit seed will be around, probably 2. So when you're making your brackets, I know some people want to do chalk, and you have to do chalk, but some big team, big number team, double digits, will be around this next weekend, probably 2 of them. So don't be afraid to pick an upset pick. If it's a team you love, that makes it even better. I think Carolina should be around next weekend. I hope Iowa State is, but they're again all on Sunday. So enjoy basketball this weekend. Feel free to call in for our next show. Give your thoughts, maybe an upset pick or what you've been through for that 4-day stretch of great basketball. And until then, have a good night. The boys are out. Peace.